Three's Company, Dr. Spock, and Pancho Villa are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is March 15th, 2021. It is the 74th day of the year. There's 291 days left in this year. It's the 11th Monday in the 12th week, and it's the 85th day of winter. We got 5 days until spring, so this weekend should be pretty nice. Theoretically, today is World Consumer Rights Day. World Consumer Rights Day seeks to raise global awareness about consumer rights and needs. This day demands that the rights of all consumers are respected and protected. World Consumer Rights Day was established in 1983. It was inspired by U.S. President John F. Kennedy back in 1962. President Kennedy formally addressed the issue of consumer rights in a special message to the U.S. Congress. This basically was put in place because a lot of different corporations just screwed everyone. Back in the 80s especially, it was horrible. I don't know if any of you remember going to the movies back in the 80s, but it used to be a really nice thing. You go to the movies, 2-hour movie, place is clean, things like that. All of a sudden in the 80s, movie theaters started really sucking. It was like get you in for an hour and 5-minute movie, get you out. They wouldn't clean it. The chairs weren't comfortable. They didn't want you hanging out there, and they would just try and turn over as many movies as they could. And then it all changed. They started making seats comfortable, and they cleaned the place and all that for one reason only: VHS tapes. People quit going to the movies. They had to up their game. So market works sometimes. All right. Let's see what else March 15th has given us. 1916, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson sends 4,800 United States troops into Mexico to pursue Pancho Villa. It doesn't work out. They'd never catch him. He dies like 6 years later, though. General Pershing was the one in charge of this, and he complained that President Wilson, privately, he never said this publicly, but he said to his family and stuff that President Woodrow Wilson gave them too many restrictions on what they could do, and if he was let loose, he would have caught him, but he never did. 1921, I'm going to screw this one up. Talat Pasha, former Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire and chief architect of the Armenian genocide, is assassinated in Berlin by a 23-year-old Armenian man named, this is going to be a rough one, Sogohomam. It's a real, I'm just going to put it up there. This is the dude who killed him. 1936, Austrian ski jumper Joseph Bratl, I believe that's his name, sets the world record at 101.5 meters in the winter ski jump. He is the first to go over 100 meters. If you ever want to see the worst winter ski jumper, there's a movie called Eddie the Eagle. It's a true story about a British guy who made it into the Olympics, and he was not very experienced in the ski jump, and he became kind of like an icon and a beloved character of the Olympics. It's actually a pretty good movie. 1943, World War II, the Third Battle of Krakow. The Germans retake the city of Krakow from the Soviet army in bitter street fighting. Now, if you've ever been in the military, especially infantry or something like that, Marines, whatever, you know city fighting is horribly dangerous. I mean, it's one thing when you're out in the woods or something like that. There's too many nooks, crannies, windows, and everything you got to worry about. And city fighting, or we called it MOUT when I was in the military. MOUT stands for Military Occupational Urban Terrain. So yeah, it's a pretty rough way to fight. And this one apparently got ugly. 1951, the Iranian oil industry is nationalized. 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson, responding to the Selma crisis, tells Congress, "We shall overcome," in his famous speech. He says this while advocating for the Voting Rights Act. 2019, about 1.4 million young people in 123 countries go on strike to protest climate change. Yeah, there's different organizations, youth organizations, I should say, that were involved in this, but it was a big deal. These kids, they had enough. And it's the politicians, they argue over what's this and what's that. And I don't want to get into all of it, but this was pretty much a big deal. Premiered on March 15th, 1977. Three's Company, one of the greatest shows of the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's up there with Happy Days and all those other ones. Three's Company was one of the most popular TV shows in the 70s and 80s. It helped launch the careers of John Ritter, Suzanne Summers, and helped resurrect the career of Don Knotts. Yeah, he was their second landlord, in case you're too young to remember. This was a great show, and it pushed all the boundaries of the time. The story revolves around three single roommates: Janet Wood, who was played by Joyce DeWitt, Chrissy Snow, who was played by Suzanne Summers, and Jack Tripper, who was played by John Ritter. who all platonically lived together in a Santa Monica, California apartment complex owned by Stanley Roper, who was played by Norman Fell, and Helen Roper, who was played by Audra Lindley. Now, the whole premise of the show started like this. The girls had just lost a roommate, so they were looking for a new roommate and they couldn't find one. Jack, who fell asleep in their bathtub during a party, was sleeping at the YMCA because that's the only thing he could afford as a student. But they offer him to move in, and he quickly accepts the offer, and they become Three's Company. However, due to the overbearing landlord, Mr. Roper, he didn't like the co-ed living situations, and he wasn't going for it in his apartment because he thought it was going to turn into a big sex party all the time. I don't know. It's just a weird show back in the day. So the girls told Mr. Roper that Jack was actually gay, and Jack's allowed to move in only after he gets okay with a gay man living in his apartment. So like I said, it was pushing the boundaries at the time, and it was an amazing show. It's a 2-time Golden Globe winning series. The show ran for 8 seasons and aired a total of 172 episodes. It had some drama. Around 1979, contracts were expiring. Suzanne Summers, who had kind of become a big star, demanded a substantial increase in her salary. She made $30,000 an episode, which, this is 1980, 1979, that's good money. $30,000 for a single episode. She wanted to up this to about $150,000. In today's numbers, that would have been almost $100,000 was what she was making, and she wanted $500,000 per episode now. So, as you can imagine, this turned into all kinds of chaos. Well, she still had a little bit of time left on her contract. The other two got mad at her, and it caused all this drama, and they didn't want to be on the set with her. So to finish out her contract, they pretended she went to help a alien aunt in Fresno, and she would call in. They didn't even let her on the same set as those two because they felt like she was trying to destroy the show. Yeah, pretty sad. It was such a good show, and just all this drama happened towards the end. Born on March 15th, 1935, Todd Hurst, American actor. If you ever saw Taxi, he was on Taxi, great actor. He played Alex Rieger. He was in so many different movies. The first one, and I didn't even know he was in this one, Serpico, the Al Pacino movie, he played one of the cops. He was uncredited. He was like a background guy. He was in Ordinary People, which was a good show, Teachers, Running on Empty, Independence Day, Man on the Moon, A Beautiful Mind, The Muppets, Tower Heist. Yeah, he was definitely did a lot of things. He's still going, though. But yeah, he was born on this date in 1935. Died on March 15th, 1998, we lost Dr. Spock. Yeah, nothing to do with the Star Trek dude. Dr. Spock was actually Benjamin Spock. He was an American pediatrician whose book, Baby and Child Care, is one of the best-selling series of books in history. The premise of the books were that raising a baby is kind of natural and mothers know more than they think they know. It was actually a lot of women raised their kids off of what Dr. Spock had to say for many, many years. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, be productive, and be nice to each other.